Happy Wednesday. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for Lunchtime Live. I normally try to check and make sure I'm not ashy before I come on. But y'all come on in the room. I am excited about today. I've got a special treat for y'all. How many of you all are still recuperating from Easter? I know I am. I am still recuperating from Easter. Easter was amazing. Thank you, Miss Cheryl. Our Easter weekend at the Light was phenomenal. I'm really missing my Instagram audience. So we're gonna have to try to put this on Instagram later because y'all know I love IG as well on Wednesdays during the daytime. But I wanted to do Facebook and YouTube today. Easter was so phenomenal, y'all. And let me put a word out there for New Light members. There will not be an illustrated lesson this Sunday, but it will be a great lesson. I don't think I can't do an illustrated lesson every Sunday, but the word is going to be great. Miss Linda said, best illustration Sunday. I'm so glad y'all enjoyed it. The whole weekend was amazing, from the giveaways on Saturday, the Good Friday concert to Sunday, but all roads are leading to Sheroes League. And I've got to give time for the staff to take a breather and get ready for Sheroes League. So with that being said, I hope you're enjoying the Maid Journey. Every day we're posting, and this time we did something different, and we're posting it on social media as well, on Instagram. And so I hope you're really enjoying that. We're in our Maid Journey of being made. That's kind of the series that we're in. Started that on Sunday. Jeremiah said, first time at the Light this past Sunday, and definitely will be back. Well, Jeremiah, I will be looking for you. And I won't be doing the illustrated lesson Sunday, but you're going to get the same quality word and worship. So we'd love to have you back at the Light and stay connected with us as we journey through life together. Y'all, I'm excited about Lunchtime Live. I had a special Sheroes League edition last night with Latrice, my good friend Latrice Ryan. And I was telling her that for the conference, that the speakers, the panelists are all personal to me. I don't believe in bringing in people that I don't like to listen to, that I don't glean from their field, from their ministry, from their platform. If they're on a stage, I'm actually gleaning from them. And I've been a silent follower of this young man. I'm not young. I'm young too, so I can call everybody young man because I feel like everybody's in the category, but I've been a silent follower of this man, and to know how we are really connected, Bishop Blake's and all of that, it was the cherry on top. I want you all to help me welcome. He will be a part of the Take It From Me panel with our men. Welcome David Burris to our Lunchtime Live. Come on in, sir. They're gonna bring you up. Hello.
Hey, young man. Young man. Yes.
Listen, Dad calls everybody kid now. So
I'm with it.
He's
I'm with it.
70, and he's like, everybody's a kid to me. I'm like,
yes, ma'am.
Dad at 70, yeah, everybody's a kid.
Yes, ma'am.
So now that I'm getting older, everybody's young to me.
Listen, I turned 48 on April 3rd, so I needed that affirmation and confirmation. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Come on, see, I'm 45. I'll be 46 in June, and 40 looks totally different. I was telling the young lady the other day, she just turned 40. She was like, oh, don't tell my age. And I was like, girl, 40 is it.
40 is it. Yeah.
40s are it. But I am so delighted to have you. I do want you to kind of tell our audience a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to dive into it, because I know not only do you do life coaching, but there is a relationship coaching aspect. And I really believe we're in a season where we've got to really take the time to invest and put work into our relationships. That
sure.
the relationship that we desire is not just going to happen because we prayed about it, but it does require some intentional effort to see that relationship flourish, to see that union flourish. So first, introduce yourself and welcome to the Lunchtime Live.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, y'all. My name is David Burris. I am a native of the San Francisco Bay Area. I live in LA with my wife of 20 years and my two sons, Micah and Zion. And I'm really on mission. I'm on an assignment to help people do purpose well and do relationships well, and really to marry the two, purpose and relationships. And so that's what I do. I have a really heavy focus now on helping men become emotionally intelligent and to develop Christ-like husbands. That's the goal. And so that's why I do what I do, and I love it. And I'm grateful to be here.
I love that. And I think, a lot of times we say Sheroes League, and it's, most people think, oh, it's just for the women. But really, we've got to learn how to do life together.
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
how do we do life together? And how do we help each other? And I think that's, I'm polling some questions to, we got some good questions waiting for you all. And I'm actually allowing LaTerrace Whitfield to moderate the panel that you all are on. The ladies are just going to peep in, but we get to jump in when we need to. But you said something about really purpose and relationships. And part of our purpose is working together. I mentioned that on Sunday, that united purpose that we have is that we have to do life together. He's connected us for a reason.
That's right.
How can we as women, because I do read some of your posts and I follow you and you talk a lot about your wife, but how as a woman can you help the men in your life step into their purpose? Because a lot of times we think it comes by nagging or telling
Sure.
them what they're not. But what are some things that women can do to help men along their purpose journey?
Well, I think a couple things. I think starting with really knowing who she is and the value she adds. And I think it's important to note that because when she doesn't know that, she may potentially become Superman to her man or
Ooh.
Superwoman. And what I mean
Mhm.
by that is always diving in and rescuing him when he has issues or concerns or things that he has to work through. So I think knowing who she is and knowing her power and her dominion is key. I think the second thing is knowing who he is and really having I call it a personal prophet, having a word from the Lord concerning her man. I think that's key too, because he's going to need a lot of affirmation, especially if he's highly driven. And I think the third thing too really is just kind of speaking to his future with him and trying to see what he sees. Not that you will always see that, but I think sometimes as men, it helps us when you understand who we are. If we think about Adam and Eve and just the whole fact that this woman didn't ask any questions before she went home with Adam. Um, she didn't have to. She was very secure in who she was, and she knew the God that brought him into her life. So I think those things are key, and especially knowing God and knowing the God on his life is essential in helping him become more than what he sees for himself.
Okay, those are really good. Now I got a question though, because the rider, quote unquote, ride or die chick.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned about her using her superpowers, but we've been taught you got to be a rider. You got to be a
Mm.
rider. So how do you balance that out, being a rider and not, because that superpower, not letting the superpower take it over where you're running it or you're not allowing that person to navigate their journey of life because you're always coming in to save the day. But then on the other hand, society is saying you got to be a rider.
Yeah, so I think if you are a ride or die chick, as we've quoted, I think you need a man who would lean more towards your ride than your die. If he is calling you to die more than he dies, you're in trouble. He's the one that's supposed to sacrifice. He's the one that's supposed to look like Christ. So if you are a ride or die, I need you to ride, but I don't want you to die. That's my job. That's my responsibility. That's my sacrifice. I think the other piece to that, though, is you have to be discerning on the beginning end of who you are with so that you are not some man's life coach. You can be his life partner. There's a difference. If he doesn't know who he is, if he doesn't know where he's going, if he doesn't know the assignment on his life, you're more life coach than life partner. And so I don't want you to be the ride or die chick. I want you to be the ride chick. Let me do the dying. Let me do the sacrificing. Will you have to sacrifice? Yes, but never as much as the man should. That's just Bible.
I'm loving it. I think one of the things I think we have to do, and that's what makes Sheroes League conference this year so important to me, because the theme is she's iconic. And
Mhm.
what you're saying is the more I know about myself and the more I can see who I am, then I can pour into somebody, pour into a partner. I can and pour in from a healthy place, not pouring in expecting my pour to fix him and me,
That's right.
but my pour is to add value to the relationship. And so
Mm.
a part of this year's conference is really showing this balance of how men and women work together, because there is a desire to be in some type of relationship partnership. We were created to coexist. He says it's not good that man should be alone. It doesn't mean that you're not complete as a single person, but how do two single people come together for the benefit and the betterment of that relationship and the people that they come in contact with? And I think far too often we've been taught these social stigmas and social just untruths about what you're supposed to be going after purpose.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you said it. I need you to be a writer, but I don't need you to die for me.
No, don't die for me.
Because that's the assignment is when we talk about it, the woman is the nurturer, the builder, the birther. So if she's dying for it, then she's stepping outside of her creative purpose.
That's correct. Yeah, she's to give life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's to give his life. So, sir, you have to die more than her. I was looking at this word icon, right? So since we're talking about this word icon, the word icon means likeness. It means image. It means portrait. It means image in a mirror. So I think even her being iconic, she has to be able to see herself. I can't be an icon to anybody else if I don't see me. It also means an image in the mind or image in the mirror. And so for an iconic woman, you've got to really know you. You can't be a help to anybody else if you're not a help to yourself. And so that icon really means falling in love with me and then letting that love that I have for me spill over into how I show up for everybody else.
So that is so good. And really it is really my heart's desire. I think people think when I say she's iconic, I'm thinking only about a select group of individuals. Because we've used the word for legends or for celebrities, but really when I say she's iconic, I'm saying she's clear about her purpose.
Yes.
Clear about who she is. So what's on the inside of her is being poured out to other people that leaves a legacy in the earth. And so, I've been really doing this study of women in the Bible and looking at it. And some of those pivotal moments in the Bible, there was a woman on the scene or an iconic woman who knew who she was. Even after challenges, she knew enough to step into another space of destiny. And so let's talk about purpose for a little bit, because what do you do? This is going to be a little question. What do you do when on your journey of purpose, you fractured some relationships?
Is that the whole question, sis?
Yeah, that's really a whole question, because I've, again, like I tell everybody, I really am a follower and a people that I bring to the conference. I'm following you on social media. I'm watching your Instagram. I'm watching your Facebook posts, because if it can't speak to me, then it sure can't speak to the people that are trusting my ability to gather voices together to speak into their life. And so I love your transparency about how you've navigated your 20-year relationship with your wife. But what happens when in the quest for purpose, because we don't always get it right.
Yeah.
Fracture some relationships along the way. How do you fix it? What do you do?
You have to, couple things. So I think the first thing is you got to fix the version of you that did it. If you do not do that, you will repeat it. Right. So I've got to, even, in my own marriage, 20 years, I've fractured some things. And so before I can fix us, I had to fix me. I had to go back and fix the version of me that caused the fracture. Then you have to go repair those breaches. Now, the key to repairing a breach is you don't get to tell them when they are healed. That's you don't get to do that. Neither do you get to tell them how they're going to receive your forgiveness or your apology. And so that means you've got to take time. You have to go the distance with people, especially when you have fractured it and you're trying to repair it. You don't get to tell them how long it takes for them to recover. And so you have to be willing to walk with people until they are healed. My wife and I have married 20 years. I have had to repair some things in our marriage, and I tried to repair it by also getting my needs met. And you can't do that. It's got to be about them. It's got to be about what they need and when they need it. Then you can come around and get your needs met. So putting them first is how you go repair those breaches.
So putting them first, but also I want to go back to that, fix the version of me that
Yeah.
caused the fracture, which means you have to have an image that shows you something different.
Yeah.
And when did you know, when did you realize, wait a minute, if I don't fix me, some things that I value are going to be gone. And I need to fix this before it's too late. When did you have like that aha moment?
I had so prior to, so just in short, there was I committed adultery in my marriage, if we can just be quite honest. And so I had to repair that. And that aha moment for me was when I realized my wife was crying and I was no longer feeling, right? So she had tears and I couldn't feel a thing. In fact, when she would cry, I would leave the room. And that moment for me happened when she cried and I just forced myself to feel. What is she feeling in this moment? What is she saying in this moment? So leaning in, and that me feeling her broke me, and then I began to feel again. And so that you got to really get to your feelings and understanding, because if I can't feel me, it's impossible for me to feel you, and I can hurt what I don't love, right? I can hurt what I don't feel. So I got
Mhm.
to feel you so that I don't hurt you, if that makes sense.
I love it. And I'm so looking forward to the conference and your transparency and everybody's transparency. And of course, we're gonna dive into it. This is just a precursor for today. To me, with you, Latarius, my father, and Anthony O'Neill, we've got two married individuals and two single individuals on a panel to talk about advice. And I want to touch on this adultery and infidelity a little bit. And I'm trying to save it to Sheroes League, but I want to touch on it just a little bit if you allow me. But I do want to let everybody know you can go register today, and there's a discount code LTL 10, LTL 10, Lunchtime Live 10. It's for 24 hours, discount code. Take advantage of it. Let me tell y'all, there are only 60 VIP seats left.
Mm.
60. That's it. Once we hit that, it's done. So if you're waiting to the last minute, you need to go ahead and get your ticket. Register at SheroesLeague.com. This, first of all, I thank you for showing us an example that there is a flourishing relationship after adultery.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as females, a lot of times, and boss chicks and sheroes and alpha women, it's like, if he does it, I'm out. You know, that
Yep.
isn't. But when you love somebody, and you really understand the definition of love from 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love
Yeah. Of
endures, love is kind, and it doesn't mean that you become a doormat,
course not.
but you don't throw away certain things that you value.
Yeah.
That if you value it, I've got a couple pair of shoes that I value that they cost me something to get them. So when the heel breaks, it's not time to throw them away. I got to take it to the shoe doctor and let the shoe doctor.
Are you doing Easter Sunday again?
I'm
No,
not,
this feels like Easter.
not
No,
doing
it feels
Easter
like
Sunday
Easter.
again. No, no, no. But we've been taught that if infidelity happens, I'm out.
Yep.
But I want to talk about this, and I'm trying to save it to Sheroes League. But so many women feel the pressure of, in reality, as if infidelity is all their fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I need the brothers to be willing to talk about that,
Yeah.
because we have this thing where, and we do as women, we take it on like, okay, what did I do right? How did that happen? How do you help? How did you help navigate your wife through that? And I know there's some personal things, but how do you navigate to say it was a choice that I made? It wasn't on you. Are there some things we need to fix? Yeah, but this is not a flaw, or it's not a flaw in you as a woman that made me make the decision that I made, because we know the scripture, but in our mind, we don't separate the two.
Yeah. Adultery is never anyone. So it's never. It wasn't my wife's fault. There were
Yeah.
some things that she could have changed, but I made the decision. She did not. All right. So it's not her fault. I think the other aspect, though, is I've got to ask myself, what's going on with me? Because if it wasn't Tanisha LaShawn Burris, it would be somebody else. So I've got to get with me so that I can fix what's going on with me. Because if I'm again, if should we leave, I still got to deal with this. I've got to deal with me, and she has to deal with herself. And so what that caused us to do is really sit down and have hard conversations about how did we get here? What did I need that I wasn't getting? And how what was the point in which I began to move away? And when you start having those hard conversations, we discover both of us could have done different things. We could have done things differently, but it was all my fault.
And I think that's so huge that you can take ownership of that, but then the commitment to do the work. And there are times I've seen you post about just the marriage, and I want to go back to something you said, that affirmation piece, because we think that only if that's your love language, you need affirmation. But let's talk about in relationships, how key affirmations to each other, affirmations to yourself first, but affirmations to each other is important, because a lot of times men will say, I don't need that. But there's a part in the man that he really does need to be affirmed. There's a part of a woman that she needs to be affirmed. And sometimes you can see the relationship breaking down when there's no affirmation. So talk to us about the need for affirmation in the dynamic of relationships.
We both need affirmation, but if I were to speak from a male's perspective, I think a lot of men don't realize that we don't have to be strong all the time. We don't have to have the answers all the time. And so I think when we get to the baseline of, listen, I don't have the answers all the time. I'm not strong all the time. And this woman God has sent to me has now become me. And so when she's affirming me, I hear it in my own voice. So I think it's important in marriage that you are one sound, one voice, so that you can affirm each other, and it feels like it's coming from yourself. It feels like it's coming from you. When my wife speaks over me, it's not a stranger speaking to me. It's not even someone separate. It feels like it's me. My person is telling me I'm okay. So you have to be okay with affirmation and be okay with the fact that I need it sometimes. And I think, again, for men in particular, we just don't know how to say when we're weak, or we need something, or we need to be affirmed, or we need to be pampered. We need to be loved on in a way that only you can do it. But when we can say that and receive that, we become Superman overnight.
I love it. I mean, you're talking good stuff. And I think it's that real conversation of saying, no, I do need to hear it. And really, again, it goes back to everybody knowing the image of who they've been created to be. Now, tell me about how has the connection with Bishop R.C. Blakes been beneficial to you? Like, I am just, my parents have been friends with them, but I was a Queenology student and fan before. So I was telling my father about it. But how did you all connect, and how has that relationship been beneficial to you?
So Bishop, I ran across him several years ago, and I reached out to him, and I was like, hey, I'm your son. You don't know it, and I'm going to pursue you until you believe it. And I did it. I did it. I'd never met a man that sounded more like who I think I'm becoming, and looked more and carried himself more like who I think I'm becoming. And so I just pursued him, even as Elijah and Elisha. And one day he realized, you are my son. Yeah. And so it's been this great connection, and we just become closer and closer over time. And he's really helped me fine tune my message, but fine tune my manhood as well. So there's not a greater man on this planet to me than the General R.C. Blakes.
Come on, fine tune your message and fine tune your manhood, because it's and this is key to me. You have to have somebody that helps you do that.
You have to.
God gives you a message, but he gives you people along the path to help fine tune it. And you've got to be in the right atmosphere for those people to do that. You have to be open and receptive, but you also got to position yourself to be in the room for the
fine tuning. So good.
And to me, that's what Sheroes League Conference is. I've created a room for the fine tuning. I've created a room for the speakers and the panelists to speak to the womanhood, the manhood, the femininity, and the masculinity, and then the spiritual side,
Hmm.
all of those dynamics, because I firmly believe in 3rd John 2, beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. So that means that me developing my mind, my will, my imaginations, emotions, and intellect should not be secondhand. I shouldn't be
Mm.
so spiritually deep that I'm not emotionally strong.
Yeah.
But that fine tuning of your manhood, your womanhood, is many times it happens in the connections that you have.
That's right.
It happens in the people that you're connected to. So this will be your first time at the light, first time at Sheroes League. What are you looking forward to?
Everything. I've been following you all for years, and Bishop really helped, Apostle helped fine tune my teaching message. I came out of the Baptist church. When I saw this Baptist man teaching flat footed without hooping, I was like, oh yeah, I can do this too. And so you all have been. I'm a member of the Light. You don't know that. I live in California. Oh no, but I go to the Light. Yeah. So this is a dream for me, and I'm excited and grateful and honored. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. I have to tell Dad, that is so amazing and so on point. Before we go, I want to dabble in this other topic of the femininity and the masculinity, and the man helping the femininity side of a
Yeah.
woman stand up. Tell me your thoughts on that, because there's this whole dialogue about, is it the man's responsibility to create space for, and I said it, I was on recently a podcast, and I was like, the more safe she is, the more comfortable she is, that femininity will step up. But how does a man create space for the alpha girl to rest, the
Hmm.
iconic woman to rest, and the soft girl show up? Because
Yeah.
we've been taught you can't be soft. If you're gonna achieve something, you can't be soft. So there's this new dialogue. So give us a little teaser on that femininity and the masculinity, and how that shows up in the right room.
So I approach this a little bit differently. Most would say that we need an alpha male for her to feel more like a female. And I don't believe that. In fact, I don't believe in the whole alpha male piece at all, but that's a whole nother conversation. What I believe is that I I am most inclined to create femininity or climate for femininity for my wife when I can relate to my own gentleness and softness. So what that looks like is me understanding what she needs in this moment helps me to create that, and I cannot understand what she needs if I don't feel it myself, right? So she doesn't need Superman at home, she needs Clark Kent. And so I
Mm.
have to be Clark for her to be Lois. Lois doesn't fly around with Superman, she hangs around with Clark, right? And so I've got to learn how to take the cape off when I come home so that she can rub up against something soft to remind her of her femininity, and smell that cologne that reminds her masculinity is still in the room.
Ah! Hold on. So I need you to get used to this, because I'll do this a lot during the conference. She needs to smell the cologne for that, to remind her of the masculinity, and but you tapped into that. I'm still human. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still human. So now she wants to be Lois. She's not trying to go out and save the world. She's got Clark. So now it's her. It's really, I see Clark. The world sees Superman, but
I
I see
see Clark.
Clark. I
Yeah.
get to see Clark, and I'm responsible, and we're both responsible to make sure that the best of the two come out.
But my job is to make sure she sees my cape, right? You got
Mhm.
to see my cape. You got to know there's Superman. You got to know I would kill somebody for you, but no, I'm not a murderer, right? So there's
Yeah,
a balance where
yeah.
me as a man, I need you to see my cape. Just know I do fly and kill, but when I'm home with you, I run baths and I'm soft and gentle and we converse. Um, but I'm still a man.
And I'm aware of your needs. I
Yes.
think it's that what you're saying is that being aware, that we have to really make sure that we are more aware of the people that see us outside of the persona. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's the work there's you're all the same person, but that person ought to see a side of you, and they ought to be aware of you, and you ought to be aware of them.
That's
You ought to
correct.
be aware of, in tune, where without her saying, I don't feel good, you can look and say, hey, let me make sure something's happening. Like you've taken time to be aware of the people around you.
Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. It also says that husbands, you have to dwell with them according to knowledge. And so if I'm not a student of her, if I'm not knowledgeable of who she is, when does her cycle come? When does her cycle end? When is she most frustrated? Those things help me show up as Clark. But if I'm so super that I can't be Clark, I don't see those things and I can't cater to those needs. And I missed the opportunity to really love her the way Christ would love his church.
I absolutely love it. I can hardly wait. I keep saying this, that I think my favorite panel is going to be, and the other panel, the girl panel, is they're my friends and they're women that I glean from, I talk to. I'm better by their company and their circle. But I already can tell that my favorite panel is probably going to be the Take It From Me, with you and my father and Lateris and Anthony, and the dialogue and the transparency, and you all sharing insight about relationships and friendships and just how men think. Because I think sometimes, even though we've got these, a conglomerate of men relationship coaches, a lot of times the perspective is what we need to change as women, and not a vantage point of who men really are.
Yep.
And that's my goal for the conference, is the more I can understand and know who you are, and knowing myself, then I know how we can walk together.
That's
because
good.
how can two walk together unless they're one? So in order to be one, I got to know you, but I also have to know me. And I think that's what's going to be the key, is I got to know something about him. I don't need to know that I can have the whole exterior, I can go and lay on the table, get the work, go in the gym. But if I don't know him, I can't keep it. It's not going to last.
Yeah.
You know me, it's not going to last.
That's good. We could talk all day.
we could
talk all day. Yeah.
So, April 26th through the 28th, somebody said in the comments, I really needed this right now. Remember to see the Cape. Clark is the man, and I just need to be the lowest and the lady. Absolutely. That was a good point. I cannot wait to dive in. Looking forward to, well, since you're a member of the light, looking forward to having you.
I go to the light. Yeah.
Looking forward to having you home at the light. And so we're super excited about that. Y'all go register for the conference. There is seats available, but they are limited. And I'm telling y'all, don't wait till the last minute. We're about 10, 12 days out from this amazing conference, maybe 14 days out from this amazing conference. When I tell you, it's going to be an environment and experience that you don't want to miss. And every one of the men and the women that you see on the lineup, they are going to be real transparent, but they're going to give you the nuggets. How did you say it earlier? They're going to give you the things that you need to fix and really fine tune the womanhood, the manhood. And man, I really would suggest that you be a part of the conference just for that panel, that you need to show up because you need to hear how other men think, and not just something that's soundbite ready.
That's good.
See, a lot of times we want to just have soundbite, in our field. We're looking for the soundbite, but the soundbite isn't what's going to change your life. The soundbite is clickbait, but it's not life-changing. Sometimes it's not even true. So it sounds good to say it as a soundbite about men and women and relationships and what you need to do. But is that really reality? Is that what's really going to sustain and propel your relation to the next level? Y'all to know tonight for New Light is Better Self Night. So make sure that you tune in. We're still talking about the names of God. Thank you, Mr. David. I am so excited to meet you and your lovely wife. And we get to hang out a little bit and all of that. And y'all make sure that y'all are part of Sheroes League conference. Next week, we got somebody great for Lunchtime Live. Make sure that you go check out the Being Made Journey. It's available on Instagram as well as the Light app. I love y'all for real. And I'll catch y'all tonight for Better Self Night. Thank you so much, Mr. David. Have an amazing day.
You as well, sister. Take care.